We helped this agency to add $850,000 in ARR in only 9.5 months. We booked meetings with brands like the New York Post and Fortune.com. And we did all of this with just 2 emails. In this video, I'm going to walk through the exact 4-step process behind these results, and at the 4-minute mark, I'm going to reveal the exact emails so you can steal them. So our 4-step system. Step 1 is message market fit. So this is what we analyzed, right? The best performing client verticals, granular pain points that their ideal clients face, and how to position PR services as the solution. What we found was that a lot of PR agencies were talking about generic brand awareness, right? Which doesn't necessarily in a prospect's mind translate into actual business outcomes. Agency X's strength was getting their clients into those major mainstream outlets like Forbes, the Wall Street Journal, and Bloomberg. And so after testing a ton of different things, we settled on the angle, how would features in mainstream outlets like XYZ, specific to the company we're emailing, boost your brand's visibility, right? Step 2 was all about precision targeting. So our process, we used Apollo.io for the core prospecting and filtering. We then pulled that into Clay for further data enrichment and hyper-targeting. Clayagent we used to search for recent media coverage and company news that we could reference in the first line and tie everything together. And then in terms of lead scoring, we used Clay and we used GPT within Clay to prioritize those high intent prospects. So we weren't just finding email addresses, right? We were actually finding reasons to reach out and linking those back to our offer. Step 3 is execute and optimize. So what we did, we tested several messaging angles. We didn't just guess what would work. We found initial hypotheses of what would work, and then we tested all of those, scaled the winners and killed the losers. So we tracked reply rates, positive responses, and numbers of meetings booked through the campaigns. Initial campaigns were generating roughly a 1 in 500 positive reply rate, which isn't the end of the world, but it's not really where we want to be. After optimizing that, we got to 40 to 50% positive, as high as 40 to 50% on some campaigns. Think about that, right? The key insight that we found was that executives actually responded much better than PR and marketing roles. And our hypothesis for why this is when we were targeting CEOs and executives, we were painting the picture of business outcomes, not just, marketing tactics. And executives are really thinking in terms of brand value and market positioning. And so this resonated that much more with them. Now, through our testing and iteration, we found a follow-up that changed everything for us, and we actually continued to use that throughout the rest of the campaigns when targeting this vertical. And I'll come onto that follow-up in just a second, but the key point is the data told us exactly what was working and what wasn't. So step 4 is Systemize, right? And so our tech stack, as I mentioned, Clay for data enrichment and research. Obviously, we use Apollo before that to actually generate the initial lists. We used Clayagent to find recent company news or media coverage so that we can reference that in the first line. And then once we found those winning angles, we then use tools like Octave and Twain, right? And what these allow you to do is generate personalized messaging, but at scale. So we have those winning frameworks, and then what we're doing is passing in the leads or the prospects that we want to contact and personalizing each email individually. And so it truly is completely unique and dynamic. And then we add smart follow-up sequences and slick reply and response handling in the inboxes. The result was high quality personalization whilst we continue to scale volume. So let's get onto the actual email framework. Hey, so real quick, if you run a US or UK-based marketing or PR agency like our client, you're doing over $1 million a year in revenue, and you're looking to add some qualified sales calls directly onto your calendar, fully done for you, click the link to our website in the description below, have a look at some of our work there, and if you're interested, book a call with me to learn more. Let's get back to the video. So here's the framework for email 1 that we settled on after testing several, right? Hi name, notice specific, personalized observation about their company. And in later campaigns, like I said, we used Octave or Twain to fill this in. Could more features in mainstream outlets like 3 relevant publications. So this is where we put in 3 publications that are relevant to that company, right? So again, more personalization. Could that boost your brand's visibility? I'm curious because Agency X specializes in building media presence for brands in your space. For example, I'll work with similar company, and it's important that this is actually similar, right? Because if the company you're referencing isn't truly similar to the company you're reaching out to, then it loses the effect, right? If you're referencing a company that is way bigger than them or way smaller, for example, then it doesn't resonate that well. For example, I'll work with similar companies, significantly enhance their brand growth through strategic media opportunities. does that align with your goals? So you can see super soft CTA, right? A lot of the time people are coming out in their emails and just trying to book a meeting straight away. What we do is take a different approach. Does that align with your goals, right? So it just gets them curious because they're not seeing this as a salesy type email, more of as a kind of consulting type email, right? And they're thinking, okay, does that align with our goals? Now onto that follow-up that I mentioned, right? Super simple. Hey name, if I sent you more info on how we helped Wondery achieve specific case study result that we inserted in there, would you read it? That was it, one line. And this absolutely cooked for us. Why this worked so well? It's simple and direct, references the strongest case study or social proof that we had, easy yes or no decision. There's no pressure with this, right? Just pure curiosity. Now the key to this is you need to use your best outcome, whatever that is. This was the best outcome that we had available, right? But for you, it might be, a revenue growth stat. It might be a number of publications that you've got one of your clients into. Whatever that is, that's what you want to insert into this follow-up. And this became our highest performing follow-up across pretty much any campaign we've run, right? Now, like I said, Agency X used their most impressive client result in here. For you, it might be revenue growth, market expansion, cost savings, whatever that strongest case study is. But the power is in referencing your best outcome, right? So onto a couple of real email examples. So, hi Michael, noticed your leadership at HitLab and the innovative work you're doing in digital entertainment. Could more features in mainstream outlets like Billboard, Variety, and the Rolling Stone boost your brand's visibility? I'm curious because Agency X focuses on building media presence for brands in your space. For example, our work with Wondery significantly enhanced their brand growth and audience engagement through strategic media opportunities. Does that align with your goals? So here you can see we actually didn't mention that many specific numbers. We didn't really mention any numbers whatsoever. But then with that next follow-up, that's when you get the one-liner straight up with the results. And then that question, is it cool if I send over the case study? Example two. Hi Dave, I saw you stepped into the president role at Forge Media Group. Congrats on the new chapter. And as you can see, as I mentioned, right, that first line is completely unique and dynamic to every individual, as are in the next line, the different outlets that we're naming. So have you thought about how features in outlets like the Wall Street Journal, Fast Company, and Bloomberg could boost Forge's visibility? This is relevant because Agency X specializes in shaping strong media narratives. For example, we helped Loop Media enhance their presence during their NYSE listing. Is that something that aligns with your goals? Now on to the results that we got. Like I said, major media responses, right? So Fortune.com, and these were to sell PR services. Fortune.com, Patrick Riley, give me a good time on Monday to talk to you. I'll give you a call. Sarah at the New York Post. Hi Richard, thanks for reaching out. I'd be interested in exploring and connecting to explore how you might be able to help us. Should we find time for an introductory call? In terms of campaign performance numbers, 70 plus qualified sales calls booked in that 9.5 month period. And it's important to note here that every single prospect that was booked was aware that the pricing could start at 10K or even above per month before they actually got on the call. So we're talking about people who were truly qualified. A lot of the time people book sales calls and then, you get on the call and you're doing that kind of initial qualification on the call, and sometimes they're way outside of your budget range. This was 70 truly qualified sales calls that were aware of pricing ahead of time. $850,000 in new ARR over 9.5 months. Responses from those major brands, as you saw above. And as I said, we got to the point where we were getting 40 to 50% positive replies. That simple Wondery reference outperformed all other sequences and almost all other campaigns that we've run. So in terms of a monthly breakdown, months 1 and 2 were system setup and initial testing. Months 3 to 4, scaling those successful campaigns. Months 5 to 9, consistently booking 7 to 10 calls per month with qualified prospects, as I said. And the result, $850K in new ARR. Now, why did this system work? Well, the key success factors were these. Number one, industry-specific messaging, right? So we spoke their language. We spoke about media placements and brand visibility. We used outlet names that prospects would instantly recognize and want. And we positioned PR as business growth rather than just awareness, as I touched on at the top of the video. High-quality personalization at scale. So Clay and Clayagent found real reasons for us to reach out, right? So as you saw in that example up here, I saw that you've stepped into the president role at Forge Media Group. And we know that, newly incumbent execs or directors typically are going to spend a large portion of their budget, up to 60%, within that first 6 months. So it's a great time to hit them. What we then did, as I mentioned before, is use Octave and Twain to maintain that quality while we were scaling volume. And what that meant was that we could ensure that our emails were being delivered because they were all truly dynamic and unique. And also, on the prospects end, it was resonating that much better because of that personalization. Systematic approach. So we tested absolutely everything and we just followed the data. We scaled what was working and we killed what wasn't. And through building these repeatable systems, we ensured that over time, the systems continued to improve. And a focus on results, not activity. We were tracking true KPIs like meetings booked rather than just emails sent. And we were optimizing for qualified conversions. We measured ARR impact rather than just any vanity metrics like open rates, etc. Common agency mistakes that we avoided. So what a lot of agencies do wrong is, number one, generic messaging, right? We help businesses grow. We get you in Forbes, talking about features rather than specific outcomes. Poor targeting. Spray and pray approach, no personalization research, and going after the wrong decision makers, right? And then number three, target decision makers and not implementers. So in this case, there was a huge difference between targeting executives versus targeting PR and marketing roles, even though those PR and marketing roles that we were targeting were senior, right? So this wasn't, targeting marketing directors. This was senior roles. It wasn't targeting marketing managers, for example, senior roles like marketing director. And despite that, you can see how big the difference was in positive reply rate. And this is why it's important to always be testing. Decision makers think in terms of business outcomes instead of marketing tactics. So you've got to paint the bigger picture of brand value and market positioning to really get their attention. Key takeaways. If you're running a B2B agency, what you need to do is get specific about your ideal client in terms of industry, size, and problems. Then develop outcome-focused messaging, right? Don't focus on the features which are internal, focus on the outcomes that someone will achieve through working with you. So what specific results do you deliver? Invest in proper tools and processes. So things like Clay, Apollo, Octave, Twain, these are things which are non-negotiable when it comes to outbound, especially when you're trying to run outbound in 2025. Test systematically, so follow the data, not your gut, because when you follow the data, you can never go wrong. And focus on things that truly reflect the success of your campaigns, like meetings booked, rather than things like emails sent. Quality over quantity. So the reality check is this system works, but it takes expertise to be able to implement correctly. A lot of agencies try to do this themselves and make critical mistakes. Things like wrong messaging angles or not testing enough different angles, poor list building, no systematic testing, and poor follow-up processes. The reason Agency X was able to get these results is because we handled the entire system for them, from strategy to execution to optimization. So if you run a B2B marketing or PR agency based in the US and you're doing over 100K a month and you're looking to achieve similar results, there'll be a link down in the description below. Click that link, it will take you to a page to tell you more about what we do. And if you're interested, book a call with me to see if we're a fit to work together. Thanks.